3 Random Reviews 2. Welcome back to 3 Random Reviews. This is where I watch 3 movies that I've never seen before, but they're not new. They're just movies from an older day, an older time. Not that old, but an older time. To start off, we have the movie Silence. This is a Martin Scorsese film set in the 17th century, and it follows 2 priests who go to Japan to look for their former mentor who went there and never returned. Japan has outlawed Christianity, and anyone who is Christian is tortured or murdered until they denounce their faith. This was a fascinating movie. It is a very slow burn. However, it comes in at 2 hours 40, so it is something you're going to need to have patience with, but I think Andrew Garfield more than makes up for that long runtime because his performance in this is so good. Adam Driver and Liam Neeson also co-star in this movie, but they're only really seen at the start and the end of the sections of the movie. The whole middle section is pretty much Andrew Garfield's. You follow him, which was not something I was expecting, so when you're watching, it is a bit like, oh, when are we going to see those other characters? Because I thought they were key characters, but you really just stick with Andrew, and it's only as you actually get to the sort of the end of the film that you realise this was his movie, and these other people were just a part of it. You know, they were just small parts. And the film is really about these people in Japan testing Andrew Garfield's faith, seeing if he will ever denounce Christianity and give up on his faith and what he's always believed in as a priest. And he's really tested here because it's about what's happening to him and also what's happening to the Japanese Christians, the way they're being punished, the way they're being tortured, the way they're being murdered. It's really testing Andrew, as it's the effect it's having on other people as well as himself, because he is not giving up on his faith. I won't spoil the outcome, but I just want to say I did really like how this movie ended, and the title of the movie, Silence, is a very appropriate film title, and it's only as the film goes on you understand the meaning behind that and how it really is linked to Andrew Garfield's character and his personal relationship with God. Rewatchability rating on this, it's quite limited, but I say if it came on late night TV, I would watch it again. And I wouldn't say it's limited because it's bad, I'd just say it's limited because it is a slow burn, and I feel like it's something you see once and there's not a whole lot of reason to watch it again, unlike other Scorsese movies that are a bit more high paced and high intensity, so there's kind of more enjoyment in a rewatch, whereas this is it doesn't even feel like a Scorsese movie. It feels very different. So while there's not much reason to rewatch it, it is worth watching, I would say. It's a very good movie. It's a unique movie. I've never seen a movie that's sort of about faith. Not many, at least. And this was an interesting take on faith, and I'd give Silence an 8 out of 10. Next up, we have Blade Runner. So this is quite an old film. This is directed by Ridley Scott. It's from 1982, and it stars Harrison Ford as a Blade Runner, someone who hunts down androids pretending to be people, and this is set in Los Angeles 2019. So when this was made in 1982, this was their vision for LA in 2019, which was of course 3 years ago now, and it's kind of a unique vision, and actually it's far-fetched, just like Back to the Future's vision for 2015 was far-fetched. You know, they've got flying vehicles and all this sort of thing, but I really like the world because it's quite like desolate and depressing. Like, even though it's set in Los Angeles where it's always sunny, here it's always raining. You barely see the sun, so obviously that's telling you the state of just the way the world is now. But in regards to the androids that Harrison Ford's character Deckard is hunting, they were created for service work off-world, but they gain the ability to think and act on their own, so it's Ford's job, well, Deckard's job even, to find them and kill them. I'm a big fan of how this movie looked. It's sort of a used to future vibe where the technology is advanced but it looks worn down. The soundtrack in this is also really cool. I think it added a very unique feel and sort of twist to the movie. It's eerie, but it's kind of hopeful at the same time. It's a strange soundtrack, but I think that it's what actually set this movie apart from just being like another sci-fi movie. It really had that unique feel to it because of the sound. Just the premise and the world of Blade Runner has a unique identity to it, and that's what I liked about it. But saying that, the story is the issue, because I don't think it hit the heights that it could have. The world and plot created here is solid, but I think the direction the film went in wasn't perfect, and it's kind of hard to pinpoint what it is that's stopping this film being great, because I don't think it is great. I just think it's pretty good, but I can't pinpoint what the issue is. I think it is just something about the story they're telling and the way they're telling it. I think more time with Harrison Ford's character Deckard to understand him more would have been helpful. Just flesh him out a little bit, like understand the conflict that he has in this movie, because his character is a little bit vague. We don't really explore his emotions or what he's feeling. He just sort of shows bits in certain scenes, but we don't really get like a proper character exploration. I did like the androids in this movie, however. They felt human because of their quirkiness. It was like enjoyable seeing them interact with humans, and I found the conclusion to this movie pretty satisfying. Like I say, I'm not a huge fan of the story they told here, but I did like sort of the underlying message they had because of the story, like the relationship between humans and androids and how they view each other. I did like that theme, but I don't think the story was that particularly interesting. I think it's a good sci-fi movie. It's got some unique traits to it, and it's entertaining for the most part, and it's one of them for rewatchability. I would watch it if it came on late night TV, but it hasn't left like an imprint on me. It hasn't really set itself as like one of the top sci-fi movies, but it is pretty cool. I do like some aspects of this movie, and I'd give it a 7.5 out of 10. The last movie we're looking at is, of course, the sequels of Blade Runner 2049. Now, this is a sequel to the original, obviously, and it's set 30 years later in the year 2049, and this follows an android Blade Runner, played by Ryan Gosling, who uncovers a mysterious plot that ultimately leads him back to long-lost Blade Runner Deckard. This is made by Denis Villeneuve, who's one of my favourite directors, one of my favourite filmmakers. You know, he doesn't really put a foot wrong, so I was kind of intrigued by the fact that he was making this movie and it wasn't Ridley Scott making the sequel. And because it's Villeneuve, if you're familiar with his work, you know the movie's going to look stunning. The cinematography is incredible, just like all the shots in this movie. They're just so clever, and it looks stunning, this film. And it's still very loyal. It's very, very loyal to the first film in terms of like the setting, the theme, the way the world feels, the soundtrack as well, very similar. I did like the way that it definitely felt like a part of the universe. It wasn't just like a reboot that doesn't really feel that connected. It does actually feel like we are back in the Blade Runner world. Performances in this were kind of subtle because our main character is an android, but you know, he did have actually some personality to him. And like the first Blade Runner, the story seems to have potential and seems interesting initially, especially for like the first act and, you know, part of the second act. It seems like we could have a real good movie on our hands here. But like the first, as it goes on, it feels like it doesn't actually tell the most fascinating story, like the best story it could tell in this scenario. The story just isn't as exciting or gripping as it could be. And especially for this sequel, I question the path they went down, like the story they chose to tell in this sequel. I'm not sure if it was the best choice. It was a strange plot when all is revealed and you uncover the clues, and it wasn't exactly explained or fleshed out as to the possibilities in this world, so it's hard to get like emotionally invested in what's going on, because for the most part you're not really sure what the limitations are in regards to androids. Like they reveal some major stuff in this movie, some sort of twists, and I didn't feel like it was explained much. And for a 2-hour 40 movie, they've got time to explain things, but they don't really do it. So when the things are revealed, you're just like, how does anything even work in this world? These two films feel like the sort of films where you've actually got to like go and look at like other material to do with Blade Runner and the universe that it's set in order to understand and appreciate it more. And yeah, that's fine sometimes if you into the film and you want to go and learn more, but at the end of the day, the film should do enough. Like, you shouldn't have to go and research the lore of Blade Runner to understand why things are the way they are. The ending to this film also felt abrupt, which is saying a lot for a film that is 2 hours and 40 minutes long. The ending shouldn't feel abrupt. See, there's plenty of time to get to a conclusion and to, you know, flesh things out and actually, you know, tell a different conclusion, long it out a bit more. And I think maybe time management was a bit of an issue here. It's like it was so focused on, you know, showing the cool scenery of the movie that it didn't actually tell stories in those moments. And I think they needed to spend some of their time a bit more wisely, considering this movie is 40 minutes longer than the original. Both Blade Runners, at the end of the day, are set in a fascinating world, and it's a world that does intrigue me, and it has a unique identity, but the stories they're telling in both movies just don't feel fleshed out enough. Therefore, it's hard to be invested or find them overly interesting, because yes, whilst the world is cool, it's just not filling it with characters and stories that are really that interesting. And as with the first Blade Runner, this is something I would watch on late night TV if it came on, and I would give it a 7.5 out of 10, but I really can't see myself revisiting the Blade Runner franchise anytime soon. I think there was potential in both these movies, but honestly the plots for both films actually felt too low-key for the world they were set in, for like what's at stake, for the whole android story. I know that we've seen a lot of movies involving androids and it's like the world is at stake. I'm not talking about something that grand scheme, but I'm talking about something a little more fascinating, something to really get you on the edge of your seat. It all just feels like it's not really affecting anyone. the events that are taking place, apart from like the character we're following. And I think it should actually be a bit more grand scale, just to you know, up the ante and, you know, add a bit of tension, because when you're watching this movie you don't really feel any tension and you don't really feel that worried about any outcome that much. You're kind of just curious to see how it unfolds, but nothing really feels at stake. So yeah, that was 3 random reviews. Out of the 3, I'd say Silence is probably the one that's left me the most satisfied after watching, and the one that actually had me thinking about it for a couple of days. I think the Blade Runner movies are something I've been thinking about watching for a while. Now I've got round to it. I think, yeah, they're fine, they're pretty cool, but they're nothing exceptional in my eyes. Anyways, I've been Joe Squared. Thank you for watching. If you've seen any of these movies, let me know what you think about them. If you like them, if you don't like them, if you've seen them, please let me know your thoughts, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.